Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to tonight's Board of Appeals hearing. Before we begin, let me introduce some members of town government that act as advisors to this board. To my left is Paul Hennings, counsel to the board. To his left is Blaise Donadio, a planner in the planning department. Now let me tell you why you're here tonight. New York State statute requires that any town that adopts zoning must also have a Board of Appeals to act as a relief valve, so those persons aggrieved by strict application of the zoning ordinance can seek relief without the expense of going to court. Town board can give Board of Appeals additional powers such as special exception approvals, site plan approvals. In Smithtown, the town board has given this board authority regarding certificate of existing use and some special exception uses. The most common kind of application before the board are area variances. Area variants deal with dimensions such as lot area, frontage, height, setbacks, and parking spaces. New York State statute mandates that the board must considering the 5 criteria in area variances. When you come to the podium, please, to present your application, you need to address these 5 areas. They're here posted for you. Number 1, whether an undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties will be created. Number 2, whether the applicant has other feasible alternatives. Number 3, whether the variance is substantial. Number 4, whether adverse impact on the environment will be created. And number 5, whether the alleged difficulty is self-created. The statute requires the board to balance the interest of the applicant and those of the neighborhood or community. This statute further requires that the board shall grant the minimum variance deemed necessary and adequate, and at the same time protect and preserve the character of the neighborhood and the health, safety of the welfare of the community. The board has the power to impose reasonable conditions. Special exception applications are different than area variances. I'll explain that when we have a special exception. Regarding procedure, cases will be called in order that they are advertised. When your case is called, please come forward, submit your affidavits and mailing receipts to Mr. Donadio, and you will be sworn in at the podium. And you will be given the opportunity to explain to the board why you need the variance. After the applicant is done speaking, all interested parties will be given one opportunity and only one opportunity to be heard. So please organize your thoughts, keep your remarks factual that are related to the case. Then I will ask the applicant to come back to the podium to answer your concerns. The board will close the case and reserve decision. After all the hearings are closed, the board will review the cases and decide some of them. Others will be reviewed at a later date. There are 3 ways to find out the results of the case. Number 1, you can wait until after the public hearing, but there's no guarantee the board will act on your case tonight. Number 2, you can call the planning department tomorrow afternoon. And number 3, applicants can wait and be notified by mail. After a hearing is closed, no additional information or testimony can be submitted by the applicant or any interested parties. Okay?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The first case on the agenda, number 17329, 501 Smithtown, LLC. 501 Middle Country Road, Smithtown. The location of the property, the north side of Middle Country Road, 339 feet east of Montclair Avenue. The property is zoned LI. The applicant is requesting a variance to increase the maximum area of a ground sign from 32 square feet to 64 square feet, increase the maximum number of wall signs from 1 to 3, increase the maximum height of 3 wall signs from 15 to 23 feet.
Good evening. Let me have your name and address, please.
My name is Carmine Grasso, Cataldo Grasso Architects, 14 Carl Avenue in Smithtown. I've submitted the power of attorney, the affidavits, and the receipts for mailing and posting.
Okay, raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Madam Chairman, members of the board, I represent 501 Smithtown LLC in their application for sign variances. 501 Smithtown LLC is the owners of Lincoln of Smithtown, kind of across the street and on a diagonal from here. Their applications are for a ground sign and 3 wall signs. The ground sign, we're requesting an increase from 32 square feet permitted to 64 square feet. In actuality, what's happening is the ground sign that we're requesting is the ground sign that is in place right now with the Ford dealership right next door. They're just going to be moving that sign across the street to the Lincoln dealership. That sign's existed on the Ford site for about 4 years now and has not had any kind of negative impact on the community or the environment. The area of the sign being 64 square feet appears larger than it actually is due to the square footage is calculated by the face of the sign and also the size of the pole and the base. It has a decorative pole and base which increases the area. The area, actually the sign face, is 43 square feet. In regard to the wall signs, we're looking for an increase from 1 wall sign to 3. This is really typical of the car dealerships in the area. Most of the dealerships have at least 1 sign recognizing the brand and another sign showing the name of the dealer. In the case of Lincoln, their standard is to have 2 signs that say Lincoln, one over the main part of the wall and one at the main entrance, so at the entrance tower. And then there's also a 3rd sign that says Smithtown, which is the name of the dealership. Again, this is very similar to many other car dealerships in the area. When you look at the plans, the sizes of the signs appear to be quite large, but in reality, the actual Lincoln signs themselves are only about 12 square feet. The way the ordinance is written, you have to include the square footage of the whole, in this case, the area of the facade behind it is darker where the signs are, so we have to include that whole area. That's why the areas of the signs appear larger than the actual sign. The height of the signs, the request is going from 15 feet to 23 feet. Actually, the sign in the center over the entrance tower is 23 feet. The sign on the side of the main Lincoln sign on the building is only 20'2", and the Smithtown sign is 17'6". Again, these are pretty much common in the area on these car dealerships. The way they design the buildings now, the way the manufacturers like the buildings built, they need a lot of glass, so they want to get as much glass and height on the facade, and then the only place to put the sign is above that. If you looked outside, I'm sure you've been to the site or drive by it all the time. You can see the building's going to turn out pretty nice. It's starting to look really nice, and if you can remember what was there before, the building had been abandoned for quite a while, and it was in disrepair. So I think it's going to be a nice improvement on the neighborhood. As far as the area variance considerations go, I don't think there would be an undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood, being that the signs are similar to what there are on other dealerships. The benefit could not be achieved by another method only because, again, Lincoln is kind of dictating to the owner which signs they want on the building. I don't believe that the variance request is substantial. Again, it's similar to other dealerships. I believe it wouldn't have an adverse impact on the environment or the neighborhood. The signs on the wall are pretty small, and the ground sign is already existing right across the street and will just be moved over to the new site. Whether the difficulty was self-created, obviously it is. He's trying to install signs that are not according to the code. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Planning?
No comments.
Gentlemen?
No, ma'am. No question.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved. Second.
Really moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried.
Madam Chair, the next case, number 17330, Christina and John Neibling, 28 Carlton Road, Comac. The location of the property, the northwest corner of Carlton Road and Ashland Lane. The property is zoned R10. The applicant is requesting a variance to reduce the minimum side yard setback from 12 feet to 7 feet for a proposed 435 square foot first floor addition.
May I have your name, please?
Hi, I'm John Niebling,
And your address, John?
at 28 Carlton Road.
Okay. Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Chairman and members of the board. As it was just mentioned, today we're requesting a reduction in our side yard variance from 12 foot to 7 foot to put in a proposed 435 square foot addition to our home. We bought the home over 10 years ago, and initially when we bought the home, we didn't have any children, and now we actually have 3 beautiful children. So it's a necessity to add on to our house. There were a number of options that we considered, but we felt like this is really our last ditch effort to be able to add on to our home. We could have went up and built an addition on top of the existing house, but that would have resulted in a lot of additional square footage that we didn't need, as well as the need to probably put in either additional cesspool or concerns around the septic removal. So we decided that based on that, as well as the fact that the cost was extremely prohibitive, that wasn't a good option. We are a corner house, so we have 2 side yards, if you will. So we were unable to go out the other side and put an addition on the other side of the house toward Ashland. So that was kind of a second option that we were unable to go down. And the third option was to basically go out the side that we're requesting, reducing our side yard from 12 feet to 7 feet. That 5-foot reduction would allow us to build a addition off the side and then into our backyard, a one-level addition that we don't think is going to affect anybody's views or anything around the neighborhood. If I could look at the area variance considerations, I don't think the change would be undesirable for anybody in the neighborhood. We built this house. We renovated the house when we initially moved in. It was actually a poorly run down house at the time. I think this addition will continue to add value to the neighborhood, as did our first renovation. So I think it will be a desirable effect on the neighborhood. This benefit really couldn't be achieved any other way except for if we were to eliminate our outside entrance. We have an outside entrance in our backyard, which would allow us that 5 feet that we're requesting. Unfortunately, if we remove that, then we'd run into other compliance issues that we didn't think made any sense, as well as if we wanted to create a new outside entrance, it would have been really cost prohibitive. We don't think the requested area that we're requesting is substantial. We're reducing it 5 feet. We don't think it would have an adverse effect on the environment, again, because this is a one-level addition. We don't think it's going to create any problems with views. We think the fact that it's going to be a nice structure, architecturally sound and nice to look at, I think would be, a benefit to the neighborhood. And the alleged difficulty, we don't think it was self-created because being on a corner lot, with 2 side yards, we really didn't have any other options. We don't feel like. So it's something that I felt like this is the best option.
I noticed when I looked at this, the 7 feet is only in one corner of the addition. Okay. Planning?
No comments.
Gentlemen?
No, ma'am. No question.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved. Second.
Regularly moved and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
The next case on the agenda, number 17331, Alfred Falcone, 349 North Country Road, Smithtown. The location of the property, the north side of North Country Road, 416 feet west of Lynham Court. The property is zoned R21. Thank you. The applicant is requesting to reduce the front yard setback from 50 to 49 feet for a proposed 44 square foot portico, reduce the side yard setback from 16 feet to 12 feet for a proposed 620 square foot attached garage.
May I have your name, please?
Alfred Falcone, Madam Chairman.
Pardon me?
Alfred Falcone,
And your address, please.
349 North Country Road, Smithtown.
Okay, raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
Would you like this gentleman to speak for you?
Yes, ma'am.
May I have your name?
Todd O'Connell, 1200 Veterans Highway, Hauppauge, New York, architect for Mr. Falcone.
Okay. Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Mr. Falcone is here this evening because he's requesting relief to build a garage on his property. The required setback of 16 feet is on the side of the house. Now, if you went to pass the property, you will notice he has a tremendous open lot directly next to him. Mr. Falcone actually owns that property. He uses the contiguous property on that side as well. So it actually is a pretty substantial side yard. The actuality, if I take the property line, because they are separate tax lots, to where this garage is going to, it's actually a small triangular section of the garage that we're looking to propose that would violate the setback. I've highlighted in red. If anyone wants to, I could pass it up if you like, but it's just a small rectangular section of the garage that's in violation of the minimum side yard setback. This garage is being used. It has a mudroom in the back of it to access the house. It's just large enough so the kids can put their bicycles in and still be able to put the two cars in the garage. They're a family. They like to use the garage, so it's a very important part of their life. The portico itself that they're also looking to add is to add some character to the residence. It's just open structure, very small encroachment into the front yard of only a foot, and it's done mainly for aesthetic reasons to bring some character to the surrounding neighborhood, as well as the garage would as well. This application, includes, some peaks, some gables, make the house a little bit more pleasing to the surrounding neighborhood. To achieve my client's goal in another fashion, we don't really see how we could with the size that he's looking for and what he's trying to put into this garage. We felt it was a practical request to put before this board, especially assuming that there is no neighbor directly next to him, so he's not affecting anybody by this request today. So we don't feel it's going to have an impact in the surrounding neighborhood. We don't feel it's going to have a negative environmental impact. And it is a proposed, addition. So as far as it being self-created, that's why we're here before you today. Unfortunately, the house is where it is. So with the sizes that we're looking to pose to you, we had no choice but to come before this board. And we don't feel there's an undesirable change to the neighborhood. In fact, we feel just the opposite, that it's going to, add some character to the surrounding neighborhood, and feel it's a minimal request due to the fact that there's, a large open parcel directly adjoining him.
Okay, thank you. Planning?
Madam Chair, as Mr. O'Connell mentioned, there is only a very small portion of the front part of the proposed garage extension that would be encroaching into the minimum side yard. It really is not significant, and even if Mr. Falcone does decide to construct a home on the vacant lot, I don't think that we believe that this variance request would have that large of an impact on any new home that could be constructed on the property. So we don't really have any objection to that.
Okay, thank you. Gentlemen, any questions?
No.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Have a great evening.
Thank you. Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved. Second.
Really moved and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. We're going to be here a while.
Madam Chair, the next case, number 17332, William Dorsch, 18 Crescent Place, Smithtown. The location of the property, the west side of Crescent Place, 192 feet south of Brook Lane. The property is zoned R10. The applicant is requesting a variance to permit environmentally sensitive lands, depth to groundwater less than 10 feet, to be used to calculate the permitted density, building coverage, floor area, or minimum lot area. permit environmentally sensitive lands to be altered, increase the maximum gross floor area from 25% to 100% due to high groundwater, reduce the minimum buildable lot area from 10,000 square feet to 0 due to high groundwater. The actual lot area, 11,225 square feet. To reduce the side yard setback from 12 feet to 3 feet for an existing 96 square foot shed.
May I have your name, please?
William Dorsch, D-O-R-S-C-H.
Take that mic out so it needs you.
To my mouth. William Dorsch, D-O-R-S-C-H.
Your address?
18 Crescent Place, Smithtown, New York, 11787.
Okay. Raise your right hand, please. You swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay.
So I'm here tonight to request variances for a couple of issues with a proposed addition to my home. One is regarding the fact that we're in the high groundwater zone for the town of Smithtown, and the other that we're in the environmentally
You got to use that mic.
sensitive lands. The second is with regard to a prior built shed that we're seeking relief on a setback variance. My wife and I have been in the house for about 18 years now. One of the reasons we purchased the house is we like the privacy of the backyard. We've got a wooded lot, a wooded area behind our home, and the next home behind us is quite a distance behind us. We wanted to take advantage of that by installing a small family room with a lot of windows so we could kind of enjoy the yard year-round. The square footage of the proposed addition, the family room, would be 380 square feet. There's no changes to the septic system, no modifications that would be entailed as part of this, no new bathroom. The addition is, and if you refer to some of the photos I submitted, photos 1 and 2, numbers 1 and 2, the addition will be coming off the center of the back of the house, and both side properties are significantly blocked by some mature vegetation. There's a large stand of arborvitaes on either side of the property. We conducted a test boring, which we submitted the engineering report to the DEW for. We determined the groundwater is approximately 8.5 feet below ground surface in the vicinity of the addition. We're not going to install a full basement. It's just going to be a footing for the foundation, so that will go down to 3.5 feet below ground surface, which is typical code for getting below the frost line. The house currently has a full basement. It ranges from 5.5 feet to 6 feet below ground surface. We've been in the house, as I mentioned, for 18 years now. Never had an issue with groundwater intruding into the basement. That includes back to 2010 when Long Island had a historically high water table, probably the highest we've seen in 50 or 60 years. So based on that, I don't see really any impact of the water table to the new structure, nor us actually impacting the water table or groundwater. We also fall within the New York State freshwater wetlands buffer zone. I met a month or so ago with Kevin Jennings from DEC. He came out to the property, surveyed the wetlands. We measured the edge of the wetlands to the back of the proposed addition. It was greater than 50 feet. It was roughly 60 to 70 feet behind the house. And as a result, we were able to submit a general freshwater wetlands permit, which I submitted back on April 29th. And that's currently at DEC, and they're processing that. The other sort of unrelated item here on the variance agenda is a small 8 by 12 foot shed that we installed about 6 years ago. It's neighboring our adjacent property at 20 Crescent Place. My neighbor Kelly Grandinetti has no issues with it. We've talked to her about it. She has no problems. Frankly, you can't really see it from her property for the most part. If you look at photos 5 and 6, you can see there's a stand of arborvitae that largely block her view from it. In addition, that shed is barely visible from the front of the house and from the road due to both the arborvitae and the fence that we've installed on the side of the house. As far as the location for that shed, if you look at photo number 1, that's a photo taken from the back edge of the property looking back up towards the house. And we're on a significant slope down to the back of the property. So that was really the only logical place I could put a shed that was flat enough to site it. And we're seeking a variance as it's only 3.3 feet from the property line, and we're required to be 12 feet at that particular location. And I think I've addressed the issues that were under consideration. If you have any questions.
Okay. Planning?
No comments.
Gentlemen? You know there's not a decision tonight.
Okay.
All right, I guess the DEW is waiting for DEC's
DEC.
decision.
Okay. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved. Second.
It's really moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Madam Chair, the next case, number 17333, Halleck Ridley, 9 Sunken Meadow Road, Fort Salonga. The location of the property, the north side of Sunken Meadow Road, 617 feet west of Crestwood Drive. The property is zoned R43. The applicant is requesting a variance to permit environmentally sensitive lands, slopes in excess of 15% to be altered. Thank you. Variance to reduce the minimum lot area from 43,560 square feet to 38,528 square feet due to the environmentally sensitive land on lot number 2. Reduce the frontage at setback line from 150 feet to 25 feet for lot number 1. Reduce the frontage at setback line from 150 feet to 121 feet for lot number 2. Reduce the road frontage from 40 feet to 25 feet for lot number 1. Increase the front yard paving from 25 to 40% for lot number 1. Increase the side yard paving from 25 to 88% for lot number 1.
Good evening, Madam Chairman, members of the board. My name is Vincent Tremarco. I represent Halleck Ridley. We have submitted the affidavits of posting and mailing to Mr. Donadio. First off, I'd like to explain, kind of backwards, but was the alleged difficulty self-created? And why do I do that first?
Mr. Tremarco, take the mic with you. Okay.
So we're talking about why was the difficulty self-created? And in 1996, the map of Hidden Meadow was filed. And you can see it here, and if you want, we can leave the board with you. There was a road that was created, and it started here, and it went all the way down, and it's about 25 feet, this cul-de-sac, short of our lot. Generally speaking, when a planning board establishes a map like this, they generally don't like to landlock parcels. But in this case, they did. There's no question about it. All they had to do was move it another 25, 30 feet, and bingo, we would have access to the back, just like these other lots do. So I want to point that out right away. We wouldn't be here today, and I wouldn't be spending the time, and my client wouldn't be spending the money to show this board what went on years ago. In any event, that's the reason why the alleged difficulty was not self-created. The next thing that happened is the former planning director, Frank DeRubius, asked Frank Ridley, the builder, my client, to go to this subdivision, to go walk on this road, the orange road here, and talk to the people in this lot and this lot, and see if you can get access to the back of the property, which makes a lot of sense. The only problem is those two people didn't want a driveway going through their side yards. Frank Ridley tried to do that, and it certainly wasn't something that was acceptable to the people. So now we're stuck with a situation that the only way to develop this property, and it does meet the requirements, the area requirements, except for steep slopes, and I'll get to that, is to come up here with what's known as a flag lot. You can see it here. It's shown to you. on this board, but you have a much better copy of how we want to work this out. Now, if you look at the map that we gave you, the color copy, you'll see in orange houses that are located around the property. To the right, I'm sorry, to the left, and there's one house to the right. We propose to do 2 driveways separate. That was a suggestion made by David Flynn. He suggested that we do some greenery along the boundary line of the property. We said fine. If you look at all the orange depictions of houses, the only one that has some closeness to my client's property is the house on the right, and that was really a kind of a funny lot that was set up, I guess, many, many years ago. Now, what about environmentally sensitive land? And we're stuck with an ordinance that was passed some time ago. If you look at the green on the map, the green will show you the environmentally sensitive land. Most of that environmentally sensitive land was created and developed years ago when they built the house that you see on lot number 2. That house is an existing house which my client intends to keep, fix it up, move the garage, etc. But the environmentally sensitive land was created years ago, and there's a retaining wall there, all of which was not something that we did, and it was man-made many, many years ago. Of course, at the top of lot number 1, actually the bottom of lot number 1, you can see another little speck of green there, and that's the other place where there's environmentally sensitive land. So that's the reason for the area variances. And as this board knows, the planning board takes a position that we need to get variances from this board, so they sent us here. I suspect that they'll be sending a recommendation over.
Yes.
But in any event, you can see from that map, it's very well depicted that there's very little environmentally sensitive land, and it really has no effect on the future building of lot number 1 because there's only a corner piece that's right at the end of the bottom of the property. It's not going to affect the construction of a new home. There is a structure there now which we're going to demolish. And moving along, one of the questions that was had by, I believe, David Flynn was, well, are there any other flag lots in the area? I'll submit this map, and you'll see the blue denotes about 8 flag lots in the area that have been developed many years ago, either by a planning board application or I suspect it was just done years and years ago where we didn't have the controls, if you will, that we have today. In any event, those are the flag lots that we have depicted here, and they're marked in blue. The other thing that I think the board should consider is there was this old wives' tale, I guess you'd say, where Smithtown doesn't grant flag lots. Absolutely untrue. This board has granted flag lots a number of occasions, or granted variances so that a flag lot could be created. The one that comes to mind recently was Dan Hickey on, I think it's Darling Avenue. There was flag lots created by Dennis Ahern, where Dennis lives. That was started off as a flag lot, and a number of other flag lots throughout the town. So this isn't something new. You're not going to be setting a precedent If you grant the other variances, which are front yard width, you can see that one lot, lot number, I don't know why they did this, but lot number 2 was in the front. Lot number 2 has access right on Sunken Meadow Road and has a separate driveway. Lot number 1 has the flagstaff that goes up a number of feet and turns into the new proposed house. That's one of the reasons, or basic reason, for the relaxation of the 25% on the side yard and of the subject property. When you look at the 5 criteria, there really isn't, as I said, the difficulty certainly was not self-created. It was created unwittingly, I think, by the planning board years ago when that map was allowed to be created that way, when, for lack of another 25 feet, as again, we wouldn't be here today. Do we consider the variance to be substantial? No, not in this situation. We do meet the area. Sure, there's a little bit of steep slopes, but it really doesn't have any effect on the lot itself. As you can see, the most of the steep slopes are on lot number 2, created when the existing house was built. Can the benefit be achieved by some other method? We tried. We went to the homeowners above on the street where you see the Orange Road and the cul-de-sac, and there was no even listening to my client, as they don't want to be bothered, and they don't want to be in a situation where there are entranceways coming in between their 2 lots. So that was something we tried to do at the request of Frank DeRubius. It didn't work. It's a landlocked parcel otherwise. It's just a one-house parcel that doesn't make sense. It's 2 acres of land, and I think this board should consider it as a landlocked parcel, and as a difficulty that in effect was created by the government, by town government, the planning board. Not the planning board we have today, but a planning board of 1995-96. Would it have any adverse effect on the environment? No. It's just another house. It has no health department issues. The health department requires 20,000 square feet. We have much more than that on the lot number 1, and so there isn't any issues with sanitary flow. So finally, we asked the board to, in consideration of all these issues, that the board grant us the variances we request and allow us to build a beautiful house in Fort Salonga. It's only one house, and it's certainly not going to have any effect on the character of the area. So if the board has any questions, I'd be happy to try and answer them.
I have one question. Can you tell me, I know that there was a flag lot approved on Darling, but do you know what year the other flag lots were approved?
We didn't, Madam Chairman, we didn't check out the years that they were approved, but I suspect a lot of them existed for a long time, and many of them might have been just done by virtue of self-help and dividing up property without the benefit of the planning board. But as you know and I know, this board has granted the ability to obtain a flag lot. You don't do the flag lot, planning does, as you know, but you allow us certain variances which we need in this situation. Fort Salonga has more than most with respect to flag lots. And again, it's my suspicion that the reason is these lots, when they were created, really didn't make a heck of a lot of sense because they were long, kind of narrow lots. When you run back 2 acres and you go 800-900 feet, it really doesn't make sense. People can't even use that much property, generally speaking. So again, we ask the board for its favorable consideration. I have my client here tonight. If you need any technical answers, again.
All right. Planning?
Madam Chair, as the board is aware, everyone's received a copy. Planning prepared a memo for the board, which basically echoes what Mr. Tremarco already said regarding waiting for a recommendation from the planning board before taking action.
Right. I know you have a recommendation to adjourn it, but there's no reason to. I think we can close this case and just wait for the recommendation.
All right.
Do you agree with that?
If Mr. Trimarco's okay with that, that's fine by us. Just in case he might have comment on it, but otherwise,
Do you want us to adjourn it until you get a recommendation from the planning board? Or you want us to close it? I'll do whatever you,
No, I guess we'll adjourn it because.
all right. I don't know when they're
planning board
gonna
does
act
their
on it.
recommendation,
Pardon
we'll
me?
be able to answer it. Thank you.
All right. They're recommending that you do it on June 23rd, with the understanding that we get a recommendation by that time.
Of course.
All right? So I'll give you June 23rd, and then if we don't have any recommendation, I'll have to adjourn it again.
Okay.
All right?
All right, that's fine.
Okay. Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Come up, please. You need to go there. I'm going to ask you your name and spell your last name. What's your name?
My
please?
name is Carol McDonald Mulvaney. I am the owner of 5 Sunken Meadow Road.
All right. First of all, spell your last name. For the question.
McDonald, McDonald, Mulvaney, Mulvaney.
Okay. And your address?
5 Sunken Meadow Road.
All right. Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
My family has owned the land at 5 Sunken Meadow Road for 49 years. In that 49 years, the water table has progressively risen higher and higher to the point where the original cesspool lasted about 15 years. The one I replaced last month only lasted 7. I spoke to this planning board about this last year when there was a petition at 7 Sunken Meadow Road to add an accessory apartment over the garage, because over the years I've had continuous problems with the water table at 5 Sunken Meadow Road. Last month, feces bubbled up through my front lawn. There is also an illegal apartment at 3 Sunken Meadow Road where the garage used to be. Adding another house or a housing facility at 9 Sunken Meadow Road will just contribute more water to the water table. I am where the slope levels off. So everything that comes down Sunken Meadow Road, and your own papers say that it's more than a 15% slope, stops on my front lawn. With the addition of all the additional paving that Mr. Caridley intends to put in, that means that there's less water that can be absorbed into the ground and will just run off. The paving of the driveway is exactly at the same distance from the frontage of the road as my cesspool. So it creates an environmental hazard for my house. It creates a health hazard for my house, because when the cesspool overflows, everything ends up on the front lawn. It also, I think, this kind of building destroys the character of Fort Salonga. When my family moved there a half a century ago, they moved there for the privacy, for the country effect. We have a pre-Revolutionary War house across the street from us. It was all stables and farmland and horse country. And now more and more houses are being built, and the character of the historic neighborhood has changed. I think that this creates a detriment for my property. It certainly contributes to a decreased value of my house. I repeatedly get water in my basement because of the overflow of the cesspool and the rising of the water table. I've had to install French drains and sump pumps in my basement. And every time another house is approved for that road, I end up with more water in my basement. Smithtown doesn't have any plans to put in sewers as far as I know, and this just is a continuous problem for me. It has cost me something like $30,000 over the past few years for cesspools, pumping, one-time visit is $600, and they can be back the next week. It fills as they pump it out. And this is because the water runs down the road, which is a slope of more than 15%, and because more and more houses are being added to the road with no place for their water to go. There was a reason Smithtown zoned this area with acreage, and it was because the water table was high. We have clay underneath the soil, and nothing drains through clay. And we sit here with continuous housing, more accessory apartments. This area was never meant to have 2 apartments or 2 houses on one lot, and I have them on both sides of me now. And I really, really request that this be denied, because this creates an environmental impact for me. It creates a detriment to my property. Nothing is going to fix that if there's more buildings added to this road. I want to thank you.
Thank you so much. Was there anyone else? Mr. Tramarko?
We understand Mrs. McDonald's concern, and I'd just like to indicate that today, when you build a house, and it's been that way for a number of years now, you must contain all the water that you receive from runoff, from the roofs, from the driveway, from everywhere on your property. It has to be let into what they call catch basins and dry wells. That's number one. The test hole that we did on the property, it's about 25 feet before any kind of water is hit. The new house proposed to be constructed, again, will have dry wells to catch the water from the roof drains. And that's all engineered. As far as cesspools go, the health department has jurisdiction over what we build there and what type of cesspool. So I don't know, but I'm sure that the problems that Mrs. McDonald has nothing to do with a new house being built. Maybe it has to do with what people didn't do in the past, and that's why the town now has rules with respect to drainage and sanitation and so forth. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, this has been adjourned to June 23rd. Okay. No. Okay, next case, please.
Madam Chair, the next case, number 17334, Russell Graziano, 204 Holly Lane, Smithtown. The location of the property, the south side of Holly Lane, 156 feet west of Brookside Drive. The property is zoned R21. The applicant is requesting a variance to add to a non-conforming structure for a proposed basement and 130 square foot first floor additions. Reduce the minimum front yard setback from 50 to 38 feet for a proposed 38 square foot first floor addition and 1,398 square foot second floor addition.
You know this mic because I don't want to talk to her. May I have your name, please?
Russell Graziano,
And your address, Russell.
204 Holly Lane, Smithtown.
Okay. Raise your right hand, please. You swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth.
Yes, I do.
Okay, you want to tell us why you're here, please?
Basically, I'm here today to increase the size of my home. Me and my wife bought our house 5 years ago. It was our first home. I was 25 years old. Now I'm 30 years old. We're Smithtown high school sweethearts, and we have 5 children. And we live in a 2-bedroom house now, so it's like the little lady in the shoe. I'm trying to put a second floor on it. Basically, I'm requesting a variance to add to a non-conforming structure for a proposed basement in the rear of the house and a first-floor addition of 130 square feet. I'm proposing to reduce the minimum front yard setback from 50 feet to 42 feet for a proposed 87 square foot first-floor addition. And I'm proposing to reduce the minimum front yard setback from 50 feet to 38 feet for a proposed 1,398 square foot second floor addition. I don't feel the variance would produce an impact on adjacent properties or the neighborhood because it would not be a negative impact, I believe, but rather a positive thing that would raise all of my neighbors' property values and also increase curb appeal of Holly Lane. The request is not substantial, I don't feel, because there is a lot of space between the houses where I am, mostly half acres properties, and on every block around me, similar, if not bigger, houses are being built. The benefit cannot be achieved by alternative because I would have to move out of this beautiful town of Smithtown and take my 5 children where I was born and raised. The variance would not cause an adverse effect, I feel, on the environment because I am only bumping the front out, first floor minimally in the front and back, not causing much land to be changed. And the difficulty was not created by the applicant or former owner because I bought the house. Me and my wife bought this house hoping to expand it one day. It was our dream. This has been our dream for the past 5 years. And basically, after having my 5th child 6 months ago, we need it. Otherwise, I would have to put a for sale sign and move out of the town of Smithtown. I've been in the fire department. I've volunteered St. James Fire Department. I've volunteered Smithtown Fire Department. You know, I've been involved in the community. And I'm just requesting to make my house bigger, basically.
Okay, thank you. Planning?
No comments?
Gentlemen?
No.
Okay. Thank you so much. Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved. Second.
Ready to move in second, all in favor?
Aye.
Just
Go ahead.
Just making sure. Madam Chair, the next case, number 17335, Russell Bellato, 24 Margaret Drive, Wisconsin. The location of the property, the south side of Margaret Drive, 560 feet west of Steuben Boulevard. The property is zoned R10. The applicant is requesting a variance to permit environmentally sensitive lands to be used to calculate the permitted density, building coverage, floor area, or minimum lot area. Permit environmentally sensitive lands, depth to groundwater less than 10 feet to be altered. Reduce the minimum required buildable lot area from 10,000 square feet to 0. The actual lot area is 31,363 square feet. Increase the maximum permitted gross floor area from 25 to 100%. Reduce the minimum required rear yard from 35 to 19 feet for an existing 381 square foot and 70 square foot first floor additions.
Hi. May I have your name, please?
Russell Bellato,
And your address, Russell.
24 Margaret Drive, Wisconsin.
Okay, raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay. You want this gentleman to speak for you?
Yes, please.
Okay. Let me have your name, please.
Sure. Michael Morbillo, architect, Inspired Design Group, My office is at 1650 Sycamore Avenue, Bohemia, New York.
Okay, do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Go ahead.
The application before you this evening is to legalize an existing 381 square foot family room addition located on the rear of the residence. The addition was constructed approximately 1978 prior to Mr. Bellato purchasing the home in 1980. So it was there before he had purchased it. There was also a small breakfast nook bay window that was added onto the kitchen at that time, which was also in existence when they purchased the house in 1980. They're requesting, certainly they're over environmentally sensitive land. They're next to Spectacle Lake, so the existing property is located entirely over environmentally sensitive land. Groundwater depth is approximately, varies on the property between 8 to 10 feet. The character of the neighborhood that they live in is it's a mix of homes, some older homes. There are a lot of homes that are closer to property lines because many of the homes in the area were originally cottages for people who would visit the lake, decades back. The addition certainly will not have an undesirable change on the neighborhood. First off, it's located in the rear yard. It's not even noticeable. There is a great separation between this addition and neighboring structures or neighboring residences. The variance is, again, relative to the character neighborhood, is not substantial. There are other homes that have very diminished backyards, so it's certainly in character with the neighborhood. It has not had an adverse impact on the environment. It's been there for well over 35 years and has not caused any problems. Certainly the matter is self-created because they purchased the home for whatever circumstances. They were not aware that this was not on the list of COs on the property at the time, and so it is a self-created matter. So if the board has any questions at this time, we'd be more than happy to answer them.
Is he selling the house? That's why he's here?
Yes, he's selling the house, correct.
Planning?
No comments.
Gentlemen?
No question.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved. Second.
Rarely moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Madam Chair, the next case, number 17336, Nelson Sabella, 56 Avenue K, Kings Park. The location of the property, the west side of Avenue K, 761 feet north of Pulaski Road. The property is zoned R10. The applicant is requesting a variance to reduce the minimum front yard setback from 40 to 21 feet, 25 feet existing, reduce the minimum side yard setback from 12 feet to 10 feet, and total side yards from 28 feet to 22 feet for an existing 40-square-foot portico and a proposed 751-square-foot garage. Increase the FAR of a proposed garage from 750 square feet to 751 square feet with 196 square feet of attic space.
May I have your name, please?
Nelson Sabella,
And your address, Nelson.
56 Avenue K, Kings Park, New York.
Okay, raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, would you like this gentleman to speak
Yes.
for you? Okay. And may I have your name and spell your last name, please?
Ken Schulman, Schulman, 209 Lynn Avenue, East Northport.
Okay, raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes. This application before you tonight consists of demolishing the existing one-car attached garage on the house and enlarging it to a two-car garage. The necessity for this is depicted in the photos that I've submitted to the board. The location of the property is right across the street from a park which has baseball and football fields. The photos I submitted show what the parking conditions are like during games there. It's very difficult to park on the street, and if Mr. Sabella can park on the street, his cars are often hit by flying baseballs from the baseball field. So what he would like to do is be able to park 2 of his cars in this new 2-car garage and 2 additional cars in his driveway, so he doesn't have to contend with parking on the street any longer. The reason it's a slightly oversized garage is he also has 2 motorcycles and 2 ATVs he would like to store in the garage as well. The variances we're seeking tonight I don't consider to be substantial. We're seeking a 31-foot front setback where 40 is required, but the existing house has a 25-foot setback, so we're actually 6 feet behind the front line of the house now. We're seeking to reduce the minimum side yard setback by 2 feet, which I don't think is substantial considering this property line there is heavily screened from the neighbor, and I did submit a consent letter from that neighbor. We're also seeking to reduce the aggregate by 6 feet, which I think is common in this area considering he has an oversized property. The properties on either side of him are much narrower than his. There is also an existing 40 square foot portico on the house, which was there before Mr. Sabella even purchased the house. So I don't think that was a self-created hardship to him. I don't think this will change the character of the neighborhood. I also submitted 2 photos, one that shows a house at the end of the block, which has a very large attached garage with an attic space above, and there's also another house at the end of the block on Lou Avenue, which has a very large 3-car garage with an attic space above it. So I think his addition will certainly be in the character of the surrounding area there. And like I said, I really don't think there's any other way he can achieve this considering the location of his property across the street from the ball fields.
Let me tell you, if you want us to consider these pictures, you need to take them back. You need to put the case number on them, who took the pictures, when they were taken, and the name, all right?
Okay, no problem.
And then we will look
Sure,
at these when we make
absolutely.
a decision. Thank you. All right? They're right there. Just and then bring them back to us, okay? Yeah, okay, take the letter. Thank you so much. Okay. Planning?
No comments?
Gentlemen?
No, ma'am.
No question.
No question.
Okay. Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved. Second?
Rayleigh moved and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Madam Chair, the next case, number 17337, Michael Rosato, 12 Country Oaks Drive, Kings Park. The location of the property, the west side of Country Oaks Drive, 90 feet north of Twin Oaks Drive. The property is zoned R15. The applicant is requesting a variance to expand a non-conforming structure for 3 proposed second-floor additions totaling 303 square feet.
May I have your name, please?
Name's Mike Rosato, 12 Country Oaks Drive, Kings Park.
Okay. Raise your right hand, please. You swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Thank you.
To tell you the truth, I was surprised that I even needed a variance. I'm told I'm in full compliance. I'm just bumping out the front about 3 feet, the back 8 feet. I applied for a variance about 19 years ago to get it's for a front porch addition. And because I am doing these other additions to the house, I'm told that I need a variance because the code requires that I seek one. So that's the only reason why I'm here.
Okay.
I spoke to planning, and my architect had a conversation with planning as well. According to both of them, I am in full compliance, but needed to come before this board.
All right,
anyway.
so why don't you tell us what you do about these 3?
Yeah, up on top, the second floor, I'm bumping the middle of the house out 3 feet. In the back of the house, I'm bumping the back second floor out 8 feet up on top. There's no adverse effects. There's no detriment to the surrounding homes. Actually, because I'm changing the roof line, it's actually going to have less of an impact on the houses to the right and to the left of me.
Anybody want to see this? Planning?
No comments.
Gentlemen?
No, thank you. No question.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Hearing none, will entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved. Second.
It's really moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay. Just go into that file. Yeah, just put it on the end. Thank you. If you don't mind.
Madam Chair, the next case, number 17312, John Vetter, 1 Ellie Lane, St. James. The location of the property, the southwest corner of Ellie Lane and Heidi Court South. The property is zoned R21. The applicant is requesting a variance to reduce the minimum setback of a 6-foot fence from the edge of road pavement from 20 feet to 12 feet.
May I have your name, please?
Sure. It's John Vetter,
And your address, John?
1 Ellie Lane, St. James, New York, 11780.
Okay. Raise your right hand, please.
Excuse me, Madam Chair, just
Yes.
one quick question. Do you have your affidavit of posting for the sign?
I have it over there.
Okay.
Oh, no. Do we have anybody?
Yeah.
We can take it. We'll take it.
Yeah.
I was in the city all day today. I literally.
All right. Get your posting. We'll see if our court stenographer could notarize it.
I know. I just want to make sure we have all the paperwork. Thank you. Yes, please. Oh, how convenient, right? Thank you.
Okay, can we start? We start, okay. Let me have your name, please,
John Vetter.
and your address, John, again. What? Oh, you're not finished? Huh?
You can't do both.
Oh, come on.
Oh, wait. I can wait.
What's your left
I'll say it
hand
again.
do?
It's no big deal.
Multitasking.
He's doing good at it, too.
Yeah.
It's about time.
John, it's my fault. I apologize. My fault. It's my fault. My fault.
Wait a minute.
My fault.
Okay, here we go again. Let me have your name, please,
John Vetter,
and your address, John.
1 Ellie Lane, St. James, New York.
Okay, raise your right hand, please. You swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Okay.
Tell us why you're here?
Yeah, sure. It's regarding a fence, but let me just kind of take a little bit of a step back. So I purchased the property, my wife and I, back in January of 1999. So it's an odd-shaped piece of property. It's in a cul-de-sac. So the front of my home is facing a cul-de-sac. It is a corner. At the time, I did not know because I was in a cul-de-sac. Although it's on a corner, it's not on any kind of a busy thoroughfare. So about a year later, I constructed and put up a fence myself. About a year and a half later, so let's say 2000-ish, I put up a fence, not knowing. I have children, had more children, and everything else. Didn't know I needed a variance. So with that being said, one of my neighbors, who remains nameless at this point in time, had called the town and complained about my variance. So they came to my house and gave me a complaint. Several years later, I didn't answer it. I kind of answered it, delayed it. It's the truth. And then I wound up years later putting a pool in my backyard, but through the right course of everything, stamped, COs, the whole piece. So when I got the final inspection, I really thought everything was kind of completed and done because everything came back completed and finished for the in-ground pool. This past, I guess, Halloween, I was driving back from the city from a party and was pulled over in Smithtown at 4 o'clock in the morning with 3 warrants for my arrest because I did not know that there was essentially this open file that just kept going. I'm being truthful with you. I really, really am. So why would I, walk around with warrants for my arrest? So the officer was kind. He did not arrest me. He told me I had some variance and some city ordinance pieces that were outstanding to this fence. So I found out what it was for and had to go through the process of essentially looking to reduce the setback from 20 feet to a 12-foot reduction. So that's essentially what I'm here for. It's essentially 4, if you want to call it 4 sections of fence. It's not going to impact anybody. I'm not sure if the neighbor that's even still living in the cul-de-sac across from me is still residing, because there were several neighbors who have left since in the last 15 years. So I'm not sure if they even still reside there, so there's no one in the room to oppose it. And I'm looking to keep the fence where it is. To change it would be obviously a financial burden for me to even move it back into the property, which would reduce my backyard, which is, I think, pretty nice with landscaping and pride ownership. So I'd like to keep the fence where it is. It doesn't impact any kind of traffic patterns, any sight lines, because I'm literally in a cul-de-sac where the only traffic that comes down there is literally the 7 or 8 houses that live down there. So that's what I'm looking to do.
Okay. Planning?
No comments.
Gentlemen?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. No question.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Sorry about that little delay.
That's all right. Is it, it's a tester. Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved. Second.
Rayleigh moved and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Okay. That concludes our hearing for tonight. Thank you so much.